would like to call to order tonight's hearing, 2024 Utility Grant of Location, National Grid Verizon, 47 Newbury Ave. So at this point, I'd like to ask anyone wishing to speak in favor or opposition to come to the podium, state your name and address. If you do not wish to speak or would like your support or opposition recorded, please sign in on the sheet on the table at the back of the chamber. So anybody wishing to speak in favor or against National Grid Verizon, 47 Newbury Ave? Okay. Seeing none. At this point, I will, seeing no further public comment, I will close this public hearing at 6:31. We'll be back at 6:35 for the public hearing for grant of location, Franklin Street and Penns Hill Road. Thank you. Okay, we're back. I'd like to call the Monday, December 2nd, 6:35 public hearing to order. 2024-137, utility grant of location, National Grid, Franklin Street, Penns Hill Road. So again, at this point, I'd like to ask anyone wishing to speak in favor or opposition to come to the podium, state your name and address. If you do not wish to speak, but would like your support or opposition recorded, please sign in on the sheet on the table at the back of the chamber. So anybody in favor or against National Grid, Verizon, Franklin Street, and Penns Hill Road? Okay. Seeing none and seeing no further public comment, I will close this public hearing at 6:36, and we'll be back again at 6:40 for the public hearing on Independence Ave and Oak Grove Terrace. Thank you. Okay, we're back again. I'd like to call the Monday again, December 2nd, 6:40 PM public hearing to order. This public hearing is for Council Order 2024-138, Utility Grant of Location, National Grid Verizon, Independence Ave at Oak Grove Terrace. So at this point, I would like to ask anyone wishing to speak in favor or opposition to come to the podium, state your name and address. If you don't wish to speak, but would like your support or opposition recorded, please sign in on the sheet at the back of the table, at the back of the chamber, on the table at the back of the chamber. So, seeing that nobody's approaching, I see no further public comment. I'd like to close the public hearing at 6:41. We'll be back at 6:45 for the public hearing regarding the fiscal year 2025 property tax classification. Thank you.
Good evening. We're here for a public hearing on the fiscal year 2025 tax classification. Before we get into input from the public, we're going to have a presentation from John Rowland, who's the chair of the Board of Assessors. Welcome, John, to the podium.
Good evening, members of the City Council. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment.
Just make sure you're talking into the thing. Thank you.
Is it on?
Yeah, just bring it to your face.
Okay.
Yeah.
This better? Here we
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Before we begin, I would like to take a moment to thank my staff in the Assessor's Office. Before the city can set its tax rate, all assessed values must be certified by the Massachusetts Department of Revenue. This was my first certification as the department head, and the process could not have run smoother. I would like to thank each of them for all their hard work throughout the year. Tonight, I will be making the presentation on the city's FY25 assessed values and the proposed tax rate. This presentation, along with the latest edition of our Understanding Your Taxes booklet, will be available on our website tomorrow for anyone to view. The tax classification hearing is held tonight for the purpose of voting on the residential factor, which determines if the city will have a single or split tax rate. This body must decide whether to tax all classes of property at their full and fair cash value share of the tax levy, which would result in a single tax rate, or to reduce the share of the tax levy paid by the residential property owners and shift those taxes to the commercial, industrial, and personal property taxpayers, which would result in a split tax rate. Since 1984, Quincy has adopted a split tax rate. Assessors must classify all real property according to its use as of January 1st. The four classes of property are residential, open space, commercial, and industrial. Personal property is a separate category and is treated as a class for the purpose of allocating the tax levy. All personal property is taxed at the commercial tax rate. For fiscal year 2025, the total value of all property across the city is $23.75 billion. This is a 4.7% increase in value from FY24. The residential class accounts for 85.9% of the total assessed value in the city, while 10.3% comes from the commercial class, 2.76% from personal property, and just over 1% from the industrial class. In review of the past 5 years, Quincy's property class allocation has remained consistent, with the residential class making up approximately 86% of the total value and the commercial tax-paying base making up the remaining 14%. During the same period, Quincy's assessed values have continued to grow across all classes. When looking at the assessment increase by class from FY24 to FY25, the residential class saw an increase of 4.5%, with a 5.29% increase in commercial property values, a 12.24% increase in industrial, and a 7.06% increase in personal property. Breaking down the change in assessed value by property type from FY24 to FY25, the single-family class saw an increase of 3% this fiscal year, and the condominium class saw an increase of 3.9%. Together, these classes make up 74% of Quincy's total parcel count. The mixed-use property class had the highest increase this year at 18.9%. Each year, assessors review the new growth added to the tax base. New growth is an increase in assessed value over a prior year based on new construction, physical improvements to a property. The total assessed value of new growth for this year was over $471 million. This is an increase by $12.8 million in value from last year. New growth of completed and partially completed projects is based on an assessment date of June 30th. Breaking down that new growth in terms of tax dollars, 47.6% of the total new growth tax dollars come from the residential class of property, and 52.4% comes from the commercial, industrial, and personal property classes. Our total new growth in terms of tax dollars was $7.18 million this year, with last year being just over $6.9 million. Quincy historically ranks in the top 10 of new growth every year, with last year ranking 7th in the Commonwealth. While not all communities have finalized their new growth figures this year's new growth currently ranks 4th, 317 of the 351 municipalities. Every year, our office gathers and analyzes property sales data to assess each property and apply market adjustments to meet the certification standards established by the Department of Revenue. The sale prices of comparable properties that sold in the prior calendar year are the primary indicators of property value. Fiscal year 2025 values were determined through analyzing sales that occurred during calendar year 2023. While it can be seen in the chart presented here that the total number of single-family real estate transactions have been declining from previous years, sale prices continue to grow. This table shows the single-family sales that occurred during calendar year 2023 broken up by price point. The highest volume of sales falls within a range of $600,000 to $800,000. There were only 3 qualified sales under a purchase price of $400,000, while having 20 sales over a purchase price of $1 million. These sales shown in the chart meet the standards set by the Department of Revenue for an arm's length transaction. When we are reviewing sales data, we look at the sales by neighborhood. Here we display the median single-family sale price by neighborhood for calendar year 2023. The neighborhood with the highest median sale price was Squantum, with a median of $810,000. The next being Quincy Center, with a median of $790,000. The citywide median single-family sale price was $680,000 in 2023, a 3% increase from the prior year's median sale price of $660,000. In a review of the single-family sales by neighborhood, we saw that Wallaston had the highest volume of sales at 18%, with West Quincy following with just over 12%. From the sales data used to determine the market adjustments needed for the assessments this year, the FY25 median single-family home has an assessed value of $630,100, which is a 2.26% increase from fiscal year '24. If a residential factor of 1 was voted on by this body, then all classes of property will be taxed at the same rate, and the city of Quincy would have a single tax rate of $13.15 per thousand. This is calculated by the total tax levy of the city divided by the total assessed value of the city, with all class percentages remaining the same. The council order before you tonight determines whether we will adopt the minimum residential factor of 87.68 at a 1.75 shift towards the commercial tax-paying base, resulting in a split tax rate of $11.53 per thousand for the residential class of property and a commercial tax rate of $23.01 per thousand for the commercial class. Voting for this shift saves the residential property owners over $33 million in tax. Thank you.
Thanks, John. While John's here, does anyone in the well have any questions? Yes? No? Okay. At this point, we will welcome public comment from the audience. There's also, if you don't feel like coming up to the podium to talk about the tax classification tonight, there is a sheet that you can sign in favor or in opposition to the tax classification, which is just to the right in the back of the room, outside the doors to the right. And I encourage you to please stay on topic. This is about the tax classification.
Absolutely.
For fiscal year 2025.
Absolutely.
Pardon? Name and address, please.
Mike Carter, 5 Post Island Road. A resident for 69 years, taxpayer for a lot of that. So I think the 2 points I'd like clarified. What is actually the proposed increase in the rate? And how does this bear on the bond indebtedness of the city, which from what I hear is like approaching $1.5 billion. And I would like to know what the debt service is on that. And also, this has been brought up before, some kind of a sliding scale, income-based provisions for senior citizens so that they're not increasingly, taxed out of their homes. So those are the points I'd like to see addressed by the members of the council. Quite surprised that nobody in the council had any questions about this. Must have read it really carefully ahead of time. Thanks very much.
Maggie McKee, 117 Rosslyn Road. So I'm here just to express some frustration at the one-sided relationship this city has with its.
This is about the tax classification for fiscal year 2025.
This is about taxes in general and taxpayers.
And this is about the tax classification for 2025.
Okay. So Quincy has this Plan A, strong mayor government type, where most of the decision-making power resides with the mayor.
Maggie, I'm sorry, this is not about the charter or the way the government works. This is about the tax classification. If you have a comment on that, we would gladly accept it.
Well, my comments about the tax, this is just comments about how the city is run, which all impacts the tax rate for the next year. Because what the city is spending money on is not necessarily what residents want that money to be spent on, and that
Do you
all
support
factors
the
into
city
budget.
council splitting the tax classification to benefit the residents or the commercial property owners? This is this discussion tonight. This is the decision that the city council will be making this evening.
Okay, well, I have other comments to make about the tax rate in general.
Please make them about the tax rate.
Okay, well, I'm going to keep speaking then. Boston, for example, is a Plan A city, and it has a participatory participatory budget process that it has started so that people can actually weigh in on some of this budget that's being spent. And I would like Quincy to consider that.
Maggie, there's also a budget hearing which comes in May. There's a public hearing for that. That's not this.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Riley, and I live at 9 Landgrain Street. As a 35-year resident of Quincy, there are many reasons why my husband and I chose to buy a home and raise a family in this community, and why we continue to do so. This is a city that has always offered much to its residents. However, it is becoming more and more difficult for people to stay here with the ever-increasing property taxes. Taxes are levied to provide essential services to residents. Public safety, education, and infrastructure are all worthy of our tax dollars, and we are more than willing to pay our fair share. However, the amount of money spent on recreation, entertainment, and open space projects is placing an unreasonable burden on the taxpayers, especially those on a fixed income. Historically, from 2010 to 2018, the city's debt services accounted for 5 to 6% of the total budget. Since 2019, that figure has steadily climbed to the current rate of 15.55%. The overall budget in 2010 was $227 million, compared to $424 million today. And the total debt that the city is burdening our future citizens with is reported to be over $1 billion. What are we getting to justify that level of spending? There is no doubt that public safety, education, and infrastructure have understandably increased, but many other departments have had significant increases in spending that are not by any means essential. For example, the cemetery department, council on aging, legal, and recreation have all doubled their budgets since 2010 to 2025. Health inspection has tripled, and interestingly, municipal finance budget has quadrupled from $491,000 to $2.2 million. Interestingly, Veteran
Again,
Services has
sorry to
only...
interrupt. I just want to be clear. I don't want to be unfair as it might have been to Maggie, but this is about the tax classification
Yep.
specifically and not the budget, okay?
Yep.
Thank you.
Veteran Services,
You're continuing to talk about the budget.
this is about the, well, it's about the residential tax rate.
Are you for or against the tax classification as presented this evening by Mr. Rowland?
After hearing so many times from so many of you that no one invests more in our veterans, it's discouraging to hear that the Veteran Services budget increase has been far less substantial. It's nice to have a photo op, but they don't provide the improvements to the quality of life for our veterans.
We're happy to invite you back
Conversely,
when
the
there's a...
sizable investment in cemeteries benefits a demographic that no longer votes or pays taxes.
Thank you very much, Ms. Riley.
Hi,
Please state your name and address.
Sonali Paul Chaudhary, 16 Adams Circle. I'm a little shorter, sorry. So this is actually a clarification question, and it'd be really appreciated if it could be written on the sign outside. All it says outside is in favor and opposition, but it's unclear what it is in favor of and what is the opposition. If the request is to, if the decision is between 13% or something for residential property versus 11 for residential property, I think we just need to know which one's which, because the sheet doesn't clarify. So I understand the discussion is not about the tax rate, it's just about this classification. If the question is about the classification, we need to know what that means on the sheet, so that would be very appreciated.
Thank you very
Can that
much.
be done now?
Thank you very much.
Can that be done now? Because people are signing up, they don't know what they're signing up for.
Thank you very much.
Arthur Frank, 10 Crabtree Road, Squantum. I have a question on classification on what the golf course is classified as.
This is not a question and answer period. This is a public comment period.
Yeah, but you have the question, it's one of 4 categories. I'm wondering what category it is. Maybe the assessor can answer that?
Yes or no on that sheet applies to the golf course and house.
This is a public comment period. This is not a question and answer period.
All right, so my public comment is, I don't know what the Quincy Links is classified as, and I noticed that on the lease from the Quincy, that it says that we get 10% after expenses, which the expenses can be anything they decide it to be. And I think the value of that golf course would go up if we had maybe 10% of revenue, not 10% of whatever they describe as profit.
Next Monday, there will be another public hearing on that issue. If you'd like to come back tonight, we're discussing the tax classification. Do you support the
I just wanna
minimum
know what-
residential factor that we are voting
I
on this
just want to know
evening?
what the classification is of the Quincy Links. I mean, it didn't seem to appear in one of the 4 categories. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Jean King, and I've been a Quincy taxpayer since 1986, and I live in Marymount, Quincy. What I'd like to talk about is what I perceive as some of the causes of our increasing tax rate. There was an audit that was done by Powers and Sullivan in 2023, and what it stated was that the liabilities exceeded the assets of the city by $722.4 million. Pension and post-retirement liabilities created a negative balance of $1.1 billion. The general fund, which of course has been used to cover any shortfalls in departmental budgets, has been decreased by $3.5 million. $3.5 million of taxpayer-funded pension money was taken by an email scammer. Has any of the money been recovered? Have there been any safeguards put in place to prevent this from happening again? The S&P bond rating has been downgraded from AA+ to AA, again, due to higher debt and unfunded liabilities. The S&P report states that in 2023, Quincy had $1.1 billion outstanding direct debt and sizable other post-city employment benefits owed, such as retiree health, life insurance, and deferred compensation benefits. What are the extenuating factors? There's been a decrease in tax revenue producing properties in favor of passive open space. There's increased reliance on property taxes, which funded 68% of the general fund reserves in 2023. Bond borrowing to cover downtown improvements or a payment of $31 million is due this year. Foxrock has been given 40 years of no taxes for a new medical building. The Quincy debt per person in 2021 was $9,031. What's the debt per person in 2024? I couldn't find that information in any of the budget reports. And the mayor has proposed taking over DCR properties while incurring increased costs associated with the takeover. Incoming state revenue has been flat and anticipated to decrease in the next year. Under state law, the city must fully fund the pension system by 2038. City employees pay 9% of their salaries to pensions and an extra 2% on salaries over $30,000 per year. Pension costs in 2025 are totaling $29,318,000 and $929. Medical, dental, and life insurance costs in 2025 are totaling $57,177,478. Employees only pay 17.5% to 25% of the health care costs, with the rest borne by the city. Can city workers contribute more to pension and insurance costs? The mayor is proposing new hires in departments in 2025
Ma'am, I'm
that will
sorry.
increase costs.
Ma'am.
Adding a new grant management.
Ma'am, this is about the fiscal year 2025 tax classification. We don't have to entertain obscenities and/or noise from the audience either. We're here to have a civil meeting tonight. Right now, we're going to open the city council meeting. Thank you for your testimony. Please sit down. Madam Clerk, please call the roll. We will, excuse me, we'll open the meeting as soon as we open the formal process of the city council meeting.
I'm sorry, this is a public hearing. Why are you closing it?
We'll go back into the public hearing once we open the city council meeting officially starts at 7. Them's the rules. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Ash. Counselor Campbell. Counselor Devine. Counselor DeBona. Counselor Harris. Counselor Liang. Counselor McCarthy. Counselor Minton. President Kane.
Present.
9 members, you have a quorum.
Please stand if you're able. Join me in a moment of silence. Please use this moment as you will. This is a moment of silence. Please respect it. Please turn to the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, first item on the agenda, please.
Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived, by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible.
Okay,
And-
sorry, thank you for reading that. Please introduce the first item on the agenda.
Honoring Uncle Sam Roosevelt.
Sure, please, yeah. The president recognizes, do you want to go to the podium or would you like to do it there?
Excuse me.
Counselor Ash.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have the honor tonight to extend a council commendation and say a few words of someone who's all of our friend, and that's Uncle Sam Roundsville. And Uncle Sam, of course, may not need much of an introduction, but certainly is always mentioned in the same sentence as his wonderful wife, Jean. I'm going to take a few minutes and read his biography. And the background of this is that Uncle Sam turned 85 a couple weeks ago. I can't take any credit for this biography. Again, Jean wrote this, and I'm very glad she did, because I would never, I don't think, be able to encapsulate all of these accomplishments. Uncle Sam was born on November 15th, 1939, as a longtime resident of the great city of Quincy. He has always been in sales and is still selling real estate. On Flag Day in 1991, he legally changed his name to Uncle Sam Roundsville. This happened after being a project manager for a fundraiser for the Desert Storm War in 1991. The fund raised $1 million. At a parade celebrating the end of this conflict, the parade official of the town, which was unfortunately not Quincy, told him that he needed to walk with all of the clowns. Sam felt that the iconic symbol of Uncle Sam needed to be restored. Uncle Sam's goal is to promote America and encourage voting. As his business card says, "I've got the spirit, and so do you." To this end, he has traveled extensively around the USA, promoting pride in America and voting. As he traveled, he made the point of visiting VA hospitals to thank the soldiers for their service. He has also attended the Olympics in France and Atlanta, Georgia. He has appeared in the movie The Dream Team in 1992, and the 1992 U.S. men's Olympic basketball team, and also in Bill Clinton's documentary, The War Room, in 1993. He has been the subject of an article on the front page of the Wall Street Journal and Time magazine. Many years ago, he organized a group of realtors to register voters in front of Quincy City Hall. They would start at 6 a.m. to get the commuters heading to work, and again as they arrived home after work. In the latest election, he again organized realtors and others to drive people to the polls to vote. In 2010, following the death of his friend Ray McEachern, a longtime reporter for the Patriot Ledger, Uncle Sam, along with Leo Kelly of Housneck, installed a beautiful American-made bench in his honor in his beloved hometown part of the city, which is Housneck. They raised the money locally for this, including a donation from the city. In the spring of 2021, because of the book All Souls Day, written by Joseph Pereira, Uncle Sam met a survivor of the Battle of Hurtgen Forest, Anthony Grasso. Anthony was saved by his lieutenant, Frank Dubois, who did not survive. Anthony always wanted to thank his lieutenant, but couldn't find where he was buried. Joe Pereira was able to piece all that together, which culminated in a trip on Memorial Day weekend to Camden, South Carolina, accompanied by a reporter from the Globe, Anthony and his family. All of these individuals were instrumental in a GoFundMe project, which raised over $500,000 towards this. Uncle Sam's billboard at the corner of Beale Street and Newport Ave has been a fixture since the early 1990s. He has used that to promote voting many times and to honor and promote different charities at no charge. To name a few, the Salvation Army, Patriot Ledger's Lend a Hand, QCAP, COVID vaccinations, Mass Iron Research, and the Quincy Lions Club. He has also honored individuals for their community service, including Dan Quirk, George Montilio for 75 years, Bob Bosworth, the Quincy Sun, and Richard Koch's Flag Day Parade. His wife's favorite one was Sam on his bended knee asking her to marry him. She said yes, and they were married in 1996 by Governor Bill Weld at the Esplanade at the July 4th rehearsal show, followed by a reception at the State House. In 2021, Uncle Sam was honored to be the Grand Marshal of the beloved Quincy Flag Day Parade. His wife, Jean, and their grandchildren participated in patriotic dress. Uncle Sam's children are David and John, and his wife's children, Lisa and Al. And now if I would take a moment to read the commendation that this council is extending to Uncle Sam. The Quincy City Council presented to Uncle Sam Roundsville in celebration of the 85th birthday of Uncle Sam Roundsville. The Quincy City Council extends the warmest wishes. Born on November 15th, 1939, Uncle Sam is affectionately known as the cheerleader of America. With his beloved wife of almost 30 years, Jean, he has become a fixture of patriotic celebrations on the South Shore and beyond. Uncle Sam has been known to promote volunteerism and voter registration, and also for donating his legendary billboard to support local charities and initiatives. Namely, Uncle Sam and Jean have raised significant funds for the Patriot Ledger's Lend a Hand program, the Quincy Relief Fund, Roundball Basketball Camp, the Lions Club, Salvation Army, QCAP, and the list goes on. Quincy is truly a better place because of him. Happy 85th birthday to Quincy's favorite uncle, Sam.
Uncle Sam, would you like to say a few words about the tax classification? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We don't want you to talk about that.
I really appreciate this honor, and I know that all you people do a lot of work for people also. My wife and I just enjoy making people happy, and when they're happy, we're happy. So that's what our whole life is dedicated to, doing volunteerism and helping charities throughout the. Basically, we do local charities. We try to stay at home. We just raised $9,000 for my 85th birthday party at the Lions, at my birthday party. We had 90 people, and I really appreciate it. It was really a wonderful time, and the $9,000 from the Lions Club will help a lot. I'm legally blind now myself, and my mother was, and my sister is, so it goes on. So thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And, all right, thank you.
I think there's a couple want to say something. I think before we take a picture, a couple of us want to say some things. So President recognizes Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sammy, stay right up there for a second. Not only Uncle Sam, but the Roundsville family, they go back to the neck. They grew up on the hill where I grew up. His dad was a great guy. Brother Jack was a great guy. What he's done for the city, day in and day out, the contributions are overwhelming. Especially, he mentions the Lions Club. When I first adopted my son Gerald, who was blind, we participated in all the Lions Club races. Back when I could run a 5K, Sam. And Sam was instrumental in raising money in those races for the blind through the Lions Club, and it just kept blossoming into other things all the time. And at his birthday party up at the Elks, we talked about the time that Sam ran the race blindfolded. He wanted to run blindfolded for the 3.2 miles, and you ran with Joe Pereira, who was your sighted guide that day, and it was another tremendous Uncle Sam moment here in the city of Quincy. So my family really wants to say thank you, all the members of my family, in regards to what you did with the Lions Club and all your fundraising for the blind. So thank you, Sam. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilor McCarthy. President recognizes Councilor Liang.
Thank you, Mr. President. Happy birthday. I just want to say that during this time and during the season of family and giving gratitude, I just want to say that I think, you are the Quincy family. You're like the mom and dad of Quincy, right? I mean, 10 years ago when I first ventured out into doing this, you embraced me, brought me into the community, made sure that I felt welcome and that I felt like I belonged here. And I think you do that for everyone here. It's not just about all of the work you do to support people in the community. It's about the work you do to make everyone here feel like this is their home. And truly, I just want to say thank you for all that you've done, not just for me, but for, I think, everyone in Quincy. You guys are like the mom and dad here at Quincy. So happy birthday. I really appreciate you, Councilor Ash, giving us the opportunity to give our gratitude to both of you. So thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Liang. Yep, I just want to say happy birthday, Uncle Sam. I don't remember a time in Quincy as a lifelonger here when you haven't been involved in the fabric of this great city. You're synonymous with it, and you remind us of how great this city is and how great America is, and we appreciate that. I think there are a lot of people that would be befitting to fit into shoes like yours, because we need more people like you. Thank you very much. Councilor DeBona.
Thank you, Mr. President. Uncle Sam, it's always good to see you tonight. Happy 85th birthday. It's always good to see you at the parades, Christmas parade, Flag Day parade, 4th of July parade. Your contribution and to the community, it's a Lions Club. He has the motto of "We Serve," and I want to thank you for everything you do. You always have a nice smile on your face, and it's a good laugh to see you. So thank you so much, and thank you for everything else. We're going to get another 10, 15 more years out of you, Uncle Sam. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to just take a brief recess so we can take a picture with you in the well, and then we'll thank you very much. Where, are these back there? Okay, we will now go back into the public hearing on the tax classification for fiscal year 2025. I do want to call everyone's attention in the room to this document, which is Understanding Your Taxes. This is a printed document that the Board of Assessors puts out each year. It'll be available in print in the back of the room by the sign-in table. Mr. Rowland will put them there to make them available for further reading. They'll also be available online tomorrow and whoever distributes through the council. So we'll welcome anyone else back up.
Kathy Thrun, a 50-year resident of Wollaston,
Address, please.
234 Everett Street. Residential property taxes, according to the 25 budget, account for over 75% of the budget, about $320 million. Property taxes increase as a function of spending. When you spend more than you have to do one of two things. You either have to get a lot of debt, or you have to increase revenue. And increasing revenue means increasing property taxes. Property taxes do not rise merely because of valuations. And splitting tax rates doesn't necessarily help with our property taxes. Debt is the city's third highest expenditure in the budget. One line item is $465 million for the pension fund, for a pension shortfall. That seems to imply that there's been a bit of mismanagement there. Then, of course, we lost $3.5 million to theft, and Quincy didn't even notice for several months. We also have a former department head under the federal investigation for financial irregularities. What do tax classification and split tax rates mean when there's financial mismanagement? We take businesses off the payrolls, so what does a split tax rate mean? Namely, let's look at Acapulco's. We're taking it off the business, or we're taking out any taxes that they might pay, and we're building a pocket park and a statue. How many more statues does Quincy need? You supported a 79% raise for the mayor and a 50% raise for yourselves. Okay. State Ethics Committee managed to get it deferred or influence that deferral.
Do you support?
Why don't we
do you
repel
support the-
them
Do you support?
and save a little money?
The minimum residential factor. The minimum residential factor is what we're discussing this evening. Do you support it? Do you refute it?
I'm telling you that it is meaningless in the face of debt
Thank you very
and
much.
financial mismanagement.
Thank you.
And you work for us, Ian, so why don't you start listening?
don't know if that
Please state
question-
your name and your address, please.
Yes, sure. Jocelyn Sedney, 85 Monroe Road here in Quincy. I don't pretend to understand any of this. I may be coming from this place, coming to speak to you from a place of ignorance, because I don't understand everything I've heard tonight. I don't know if everybody up there has understood everything they've heard tonight. But I understood that the residential valuation was really tremendously high. My understanding, and again, I could be wrong, is that big apartment complexes, like the big apartment complex where Quincy Medical Center used to be, the big apartment complexes that have been built here in Quincy are considered to be residential, that they're classified by use as residential. And I would say that I don't believe Quincy's required to do that. I think that's a choice by Quincy. Again, I could be wrong. I think those are commercial enterprises, that those businesses should go under the commercial, and we would see a much higher amount of money coming from the commercial versus the residential. If in fact that's the case, then there could be and should be a 50-50% split. So often, the residents pay a higher rate of that, or a higher portion of the tax split, and it should not be that way. Residential should mean truly residential. That is, people who own homes, maybe 2-family homes, maybe 3-family homes, but not big complexes like the one we have where Quincy Medical Center is, that's run by a company that's owned by one of the wealthiest men in the country, who gets, as a commercial entity, gets tax breaks from this city. That entire operation is commercial. It's not residential. A lot of people live there, but the purpose of that is commercial, not residential. So I would encourage each of you to find out whether or not those properties are in fact classified as residential or commercial, and what the effect that has on us as homeowners. Now, a lot of people have come up to speak about this issue of classification, but they talked about taxation and the burden on them. And that's because of the unfair burden as a result of the classification and the tax levy as it's determined by this council. So again, I would suggest, maybe you all know the answer to these questions I just posed, but if you don't, I would suggest that you need to have those resolved. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for listening to us tonight. Can you hear
Name and
me?
address, please.
Michelle Connolly, Wampatuck Road. I've lived
What
in...
number?
I'm sorry?
Number?
32.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So Boston, Brookline, Cambridge, Chelsea, Marlborough, Oak Bluffs, Nantucket, Somerset, Somerville, Tisbury, Waltham, and Watertown. What do these all have in common? They have a residential exemption. And what is a residential exemption? It was enacted in 1979. The residential exemption is an option under property tax classification, Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5C, that shifts the tax burden within the residential class from owners of moderately valued residential properties to the owners of vacation homes, higher valued homes, and residential properties not occupied by the owner, including apartments and vacant lands. Here's an example from Boston. Boston does have this residential exemption. And the source is boston.gov from 2024. The residential exemption reduces your tax bill by excluding a portion of your residential property's value from taxation. Last fiscal year, the residential exemption will save qualified Boston homeowners up to $3,600 on their tax bill. Again, the source was boston.gov in 2024. In Massachusetts, local boards of selectmen have the yearly option of granting a residential exemption at the classification hearing, which is tonight, where the tax rate is going to be set. In June of 2019, this bill was brought up to the council by two of the councilors, Councilor Palmucci and Councilor Lang. Thank you. Not sure whatever happened to that. Again, in 2022, there were 5 councilors that again proposed this bill to the councilor. I'm not quite sure what happened with that. So what I'm asking you tonight is to please adopt the residential exemption for Quincy residents that own and live in their homes. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Okay, last, or maybe?
Bill Zamzow, 86 Tilden Circle, Quincy. I don't know what to tell you. Is that better? Okay, how's this? Okay. First off, yes, tonight is the discussion on the tax classification setting. The problem is, part and parcel to the tax classification discussion is a presentation that gives people an idea of what their upcoming tax bills are going to be. That has not happened. Now, I see we have a fiscal year 2025 tax recap presentation probably on the agenda for later. Maybe that'll discuss it. I've looked at this piece of propaganda, and it doesn't explain anything. What I can tell by looking at things and doing some interpolations, we're looking at upwards of a 6% property tax increase for the average single-family homeowner in the upcoming year. Granted, that's less than the over 8% this year, but it's still ugly. But we're also looking at a 50% increase in debt service next year. Bottom line is, the city's structural deficit is metastasizing, if not bleeding out red ink. Thank you. This presentation is a fraud because, again, you have not discussed what the tax bills are going to look like, and that's what the tax classification is all about. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Annalie Johnson. I live at 36 Garfield Street in Quincy. I am talking about the classification now too, as what the previous speaker so elegantly stated. Residential homes, single-family homes, people such as like myself living there for more than 50 years, and we paying, our taxes goes up every year. And with people, we are retired, but we would like to stay in our own homes. And that's why many of the people selling their home, and then multi-unit buildings are built in their home instead. But anyway, that's beside what we're speaking here tonight. Brian Palmucci, years ago, your colleague, he introduced this classification for single-family homes, a person who lives in that residence, to special classification. And previous speakers had addressed that better than I could do it. So that's what I would like to see too. You take that Brian Palmucci's proposal back to the ordinance committee, and at that time it was voted by your city council and was sent for the mayor's office to be signed. However, he nixed it because he said he can't afford it. The city cannot afford it. Yet the city can afford to give tax breaks to all these people who are building here now, some of them for more than 40 years. So please consider these things and do not burden us senior citizens with high taxes. So please adopt the new regulation or classification for single-family people such as myself and hundreds of other people such as myself. Thank you very much.
My name is Dan Oates, and I live at 14 Bay Street in Quincy. I live in North Quincy, and I've been a Quincy resident for over 21 years. Though I'm very active in my community, and have voted in every election since I turned 18. Today is the first time I've ever spoken in front of a governing body. Given the challenges we face as a society and the physical challenges we face as a city, I really felt a moral obligation to speak this evening. I'm in favor of the proposal to split the residential and commercial tax rates at 1.75 for commercial and 0.88 for residential, which I believe was the fourth option listed on the slide presentation. I believe that Quincy is a true hidden gem within the United States, with beautiful miles of coastline, beaches, beautiful sunrises and sunsets. If one posts photos from Quincy on social media and asks, "Where is Waldo?" almost nobody ever thinks that you are in Quincy. The challenge is that for many, living in Quincy is becoming unaffordable. Residents who've lived here for years and have helped to pay for the work and improvements that have helped make Quincy special cannot afford to stay here and enjoy all of this beauty. The price to heat our homes has skyrocketed. Homeowners insurance and car insurance continues to increase substantially year over year. According to a recent survey by NBC News, 65% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Unexpected expenses, such as tax increases and other things, can cause financial catastrophe. Though my family is very fortunate and we do not live paycheck to paycheck, I have seen this in my patients that I care for and their families many times, and it is really devastating for them. As many of us have to do with our own home budgets, we need to often consider, is this a must-have? Is it a good to have? Or is it I'd like to have? Over the years, as some of my fellow citizens have pointed out, proposals and ideas have come up about changing the city's tax structure. Homeowners exemption, Councilor Liang, I think you raised it. I saw this in the Quincy Sun a few years ago, so that Jude brought this up as an idea. Exemptions for the elderly. There are many elderly here today. I don't want to be subjective and guess anybody's age, but people have raised that as a concern. For the exemptions for the disabled. These are some very, very creative ideas that can help those who are most vulnerable in our society, many of whom have contributed to this growth of the city of Quincy over the course of decades, to allow them to live in their home, to age in their home, something that I, as a geriatrician who've done home-based primary care for more than 20 years, see many of my patients struggle to do. I think that this is an enormous time in the city of Quincy. I enjoy living here. I think many people who've spoken tonight already enjoy living here. But we all know that we're coming towards a fiscal catastrophe with a changing federal administration. There's likely to be less money from the federal government available to support local municipal governments. So we're going to be more responsible as a city and a state in paying our own way. So anything that the council can do to help ease the burden on taxpayers will help so many more than are here at this hearing tonight. I thank you all for all you do for the city every day. I thank all of my fellow citizens who are here tonight for their enthusiasm and all they do for the city. And I really thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight.
Please state your name and address.
John Overfield, 62 Grand Mall Road. I also co-locate, live in Taunton. I want to thank Uncle Sam in that presentation. I would have been able to make it here. And happy birthday, Uncle Sam. I know that's off topic, but I do want to be the one person that actually says, I'm in favor of 150 split, okay? Because I believe that we want to promote commercial people coming. People were talking about the residential taxpayer exemption. If we made the 150 split instead of 175, we would in essence be taxing the people that own the apartments even more. So considering everyone who spoke tonight, there isn't anyone that spoke in favor of the 175 split. Everyone was speaking of other stuff. I wanted to come up and actually answer the question. I've spoken on this many times in the past, and I believe what would give Quincy a competitive advantage, get places like Trader Joe's and Whole Foods to come here, is a competitive tax rate. A town like Wareham, it's the same for residential and for businesses. So if you want a new business to come here, like FedEx is down by Marina Bay, they're going to be taxed more. You know, if the people want to stop paying less taxes, what we need is more business. And the way we get more business is to entice businesses here is by lowering that tax rate. When you look at the numbers that were presented to you tonight, it really isn't that much of a difference. If you look at the difference between the 175 and the 150, I believe it was maybe like a quarter or 30 cents. I don't have the documents in front of me, but it's not a huge amount. But it would make a big difference to businesses that would want to come here. So, you know, this is about the tax classification, and the tax classification every single year. We've been at 175 forever. We've been at this split thing forever. They're actually talking about in Boston going up to 200%. So I don't want to copy anything that they're doing in Boston. What makes Quincy great is we're not Boston. And I think we already are great. And the way we stay great is by having more businesses move to Quincy and open up their doors in Quincy Center. Because when we developed Quincy Center, we were talking about commercial. What we need is commercial. And for some reason, the commercial businesses don't want to come to Quincy because the taxes are too high. So what we have to do is lower the taxes. And the way we do that is by lowering that to 1.5. We could at least try it for 2 years, try it for 4 years. Try for a year, but every single year, we do the same thing over and over and over again. But it's not where we're spending the money, it's about how the tax thing is split. So I really think this would be a great way of actually taxing all the big apartment buildings, because they would have to pay more in taxes. Because when you look at that majority of, I believe it was 78% of the residential property makes up the taxes right now in the city, I'm not sure what percentage of that number are the apartment buildings. It has to be approaching like 25%. So when you do talk about a residential tax exemption, some people's taxes would go up if we had that. Some people's taxes would go down. So I used to be in favor of that solution, but I'm not in favor of that anymore. That is just shifting the burden to basically the people in Squantum, who are already paying more taxes already. From looking at the slides, the people in Squantum have the highest assessed values. So, and the people who are already paying the majority of the taxes are already hurting the most. So what we really need to do is go with the 1.5. I want to thank you for your time, and I'm glad I made it here. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for being here and letting us speak, and everyone else who spoke to this evening. Mary Carter Kelly, 11 Shelton Road. And I typically watch these meetings on QATV, so I'm very grateful for that, so that I can understand and process the information. And what's frustrating is that people don't know what we're really voting on. What I do know is that when we opened our tax bill last year, it was an increase of 18%. So that was $3,000 more than it was the year before. I am not a numbers cruncher. Most of the people here have been in the city 20 plus years or 85, like Uncle Sam. And like you, we all are just vested interest and we're paying attention. And I have written letters on subjects before, and I know I'm not getting responses. I just want you to know that we are listening. We know you're trying to work for us, but you know, I think the bottom line is when people get their tax bills, are they paying attention that they've gone up 18%? So I think what people would like to know is what is the percentage that they're going to be paying next year and the following year based on the various budget allocations that you're going to go through later on tonight. So thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Tom Kelly. I live at 11 Shelton Road, Quincy. And as my wife just said, our tax bill last year went up $3,000, 18+%. If I understand the presentation that the gentleman from the assessor's office made tonight, the tax rate for next year is proposed at $13.15 per thousand. The tax rate this year
is $11.27 per thousand. The difference between those two is 16.7%. So if that tax rate of $13.15 gets adopted, that would mean that the tax rate would go up 16.7%. And if you add to that the assessed values of people's homes, people could be looking at substantially larger tax bills. Unless I missed something, that was what I understood that presentation to mean, because the presentation itself did not show a year-over-year percentage increase in the tax rate. It just showed the 13.15 proposed. So I urge you not to adopt the 13.15% tax rate. Thank you.
My name's Cynthia Roach Carter. I live at 5 Post Island Road. Can you hear me? Okay. Until Tom just came up here and told us that, I tried to listen to the whole presentation, but did not get the gist of how much the tax rate would increase. And our house also showed an increase of 18% last year. So if it's that much more this year, at 75 years old, I don't think we're going to be able to swing it much longer. So I'm hoping that there's going to be some consideration for seniors in the tax rate. It's getting too much.
Alan Johnson, 51 Lion Street. I was fortunate enough to grab a copy of the proposal that'll be available online tomorrow. It doesn't mention in here what the 13.5 whatever, or $13.50 for the increase. Is that the single one? But it did mention here a increase for the proposed 2025 year of $11.53 for residential and $23.01 for commercial. So I understand that taxes need to go up, but saying that everyone should pay the same rate, we don't have the same income for everyone that lives in Quincy. The median income for Quincy residents is $47,000. That means that after take home, which is what I'm going to pay your real estate tax with, I'm left with $36,000. In my median, Quincy median house of $640,000, that means I'm paying over $7,000 of that $36,000 going to the city taxes. I don't have that kind of money. Now, that also understands why we have such great sales in Quincy, home sales. You can't afford to live here anymore. So I think, it's not so much raising more revenue. I think it's more conscientious spending on what we have available. Finally, for a lot of the elderly people or seniors and fixed income people in the city, I had to look up what was available for abatements. And on my $6,000, $7,000 real estate property tax bill, as a senior 65, I'm able to get $350 off as an abatement for being a senior. If I'm over 70, I get the same thing, provided I don't have more than $80,000 in cash and CDs and something else. So there's all these exceptions. So I can't even get $300 off my tax bill because I have a retirement account that has $200,000 in it. So you're not allowed to have a tax break. But again, revenue is important, but more important than what you make is what you spend. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Madam Clerk, next item on the agenda, please.
Number 1, 2024-148 appropriation for $3,476,619.61 to community preservation accounts.
Before this, okay. I guess before we get into these finance figures. I'm not saying anything right now. No. So before we go into these financial appropriations, we're going to have the Director of Municipal Finance, Eric Mason, give us a brief presentation. Eric, please.
I just struggle a little bit here.
Maybe you should just hold it.
Just not staying up. Good evening, council.
What is it?
Can you hold it?
I'm going to have to hold this because it's hard to get the height up.
Yeah.
As with every year, we'll go through the financials of what this means for average single-family tax bill, in addition to a few orders that are in front of the body they can vote on that would reduce the medium single-family tax bill, and we'll walk through.
Eric, sorry, I can't even hear you, so.
Okay, is that better?
Yes, thank you.
All right. So as with every year, we have a series of orders out in front of the body that can lower tax rates. Let me rephrase that, can lower the medium single-family tax bill. I'm going to go through those orders as well with some metrics on the levy. First, is the tax rate recap. The tax rate recap is a document that dictates it's a calculation based on expenditures the city has made and projected revenues to see, once it's computed, it generates what the tax rate's going to be based on if the body adopts a split of 1.75 towards commercial, industrial, and personal property. The median home tax increase, the median home is $630,000 this year. Median means half the homes are below that price, half the homes are above that price. It's going to increase, if the council adopts all the orders in front of them, $320.40. And that's an increase from $6,944.57 to $7,264.98. That'll bring the tax levy up to $312 million. Last year it was $290 million. The residential rate would be $11.53. The commercial rate would be $23.01. The median home value grew by 2.26%, as I believe the chairman of the assessor board has already shown. CIP grew 6.12%, and non-single-family residential properties grew by 5.72%. This slide shows a breakdown based on cohort. Every house grows in property value differently because it's compared to different transactions that occur throughout the year and based upon where they are geospatially located in the city. And it's a lot of the awesome work that John Rowland's office does and the assessors. As you can see, most of the $320 median, sorry about that. Most of the $320 increase is driven by higher property values, homes approximately above $800,000. But the median home, as previously stated, is $630,000. Residential shifts. So as different property classes grow, those have different effects on the tax rate. So it's not just commercial outgrowing residential, which we saw this year. It's also different types of residential outgrowing other types of residential, particularly the difference between single-family and non-single-family tax bills. Commercial, because it grew by over 6%, it actually reduced the single-family home tax bill by approximately $31.38. The non-single-family home growth, so that's like apartments and larger multifamilies, they grew much faster, which actually reduced the tax bill by $74.79, or 19% as total. I know some of the councilors who have been on the council for a while are probably familiar with the residential burden shift that we had coming out of the 2007 recession. This would be the opposite. This is a commercial, what's referred to as a commercial growth shift. In front of you stands 4 orders. The first order is Council Order 2024-148, and that's the Community Preservation Revenue Authorization. I know many councilors spent some good years on the Community Preservation Committee. This is us authorizing the use of those funds during this year. Otherwise, if we didn't do this council order, we would have to wait till the new fiscal year to adopt it. The next one is a pension contribution adjustment based on the funding status of our pension so far. that reduced taxes $97.71. We have free cash usage, which would reduce it by a further $46.53. And then we are returning some purchase orders to the general fund. That'd be $39.01, with a total tax reduction across those last three orders of $183.25. The first order in front is the pension contribution. In December of 2021, or that's fiscal year 2022, the city allocated $475 million to its pension fund. This report, pulled up by PERAC as of 10/1/2024, the city's pension fund is one of four funds over 100% funded. We did have some market volatility at the tail end of 2022 that suppressed some of the short-term valuation, but the fund value, as many people who follow the market are aware, is sharply recovering. It is important to note that the City Council still retains authorization to appropriate the total value amount at any part during the fiscal year. Free cash is sometimes there's confusion on what free cash is. Free cash is not your operational surplus. It's your operational surplus minus any grant or fund deficits that are eligible by DOR and DLS to be reduced from your surplus. It's calculated through a version of modified GASB. For those unfamiliar, our basic financial statements are in GAAP, or generally accepted accounting principles, where GASB, or Government Accounting Standard Board, is a different calculation. That's why the reason we do this is because the primary revenue generator of any government is tax revenue, but tax revenue is not a long-term asset, so it creates very unbalanced GAAP-based accounting standards, where if you adopt a GASB standard, it makes it much more clear based on how the uniqueness of public finance. The state of Massachusetts operates under what's called a modified GASB accounting standard. That simply means our free cash is calculated in this manner of fund deficit reduction. Total free cash available is $3.43 million. 3.2 million of that comes from this fiscal year, and then we had a remaining $223,927 from last fiscal year. After the council order, if the council so chooses to adopt this order, it would drop down to 1.43 million that then can be assigned for any myriad of reasons the body so chooses. The $2 million is going to addressing a grant deficit the city currently has that the Bureau of Accounts has requested us to close out. Then another $1 million is going into the city's overlay account. With the overlay account, it's what's used to fund exemptions that are given to the taxpayers based on orders the body has adopted. Well, the order says to lower the tax levy. That's because the uniqueness of the tax recap sheet, you actually assign the fund deficit reduction and the free cash usage as separate individual reports within the document itself. That increases the levy, the $2 million, and then this act brings that $2 million down. Purchase order closure. This is something we do a couple times a year. What a purchase order is basically an encumbrance of funds reserved for a specific person and vendor by the city. Purchase orders as part of the general fund exist forever until they are closed, as long as they have an eligible expense to reflect that. This represents under budget performance by departments in the general fund, whether it be in schools or whether it be in the general fund. Purchase orders closed. We closed 565 purchase orders with an average value of just shy of $3,000. And the oldest purchase order is actually from 2014. So we do this frequently. We engage department heads to see what's eligible. That one for 2014, which is by far the oldest, most are from last year. That had to do with a project that we actually eventually got a grant for. So we were able to return that to the taxpayer. My final slide is based on excess levy capacity. For those aware or unaware, the state of Massachusetts does enforce a levy that's not common in all states. A levy is basically the maximum amount you are allowed to tax under law. Right now, the city of Quincy has $31.3 million in excess levy capacity. That is if the body adopts all the measures in front of it. That currently makes Quincy rank 7th in the entire Commonwealth, which out of 351 communities is quite well. The state average is $2.8 million in excess levy capacity, so about a 17th of what we have. More interesting is the standard deviation is 12.8 million, so that means we are seeing some quite pronounced right skew to that graph. Most municipalities have measured their free cash in hundreds of thousands, including the city of Boston only has about $740,000 in excess levy capacity. what these dollars are dollars that were declined to be taxed in that year by the body and by the administration. So since 2015, the city's left $346 million of untaxed levy. So it's something we're allowed to tax to under state law, but we choose not to. Obviously, this body is very active in that. And this is viewed very favorably by rating agencies because rating agencies see it as our ability to generate revenue as needed, but still allowing the citizen to not hold that burden as a mode to get more stabilization. And I'm happy to field any questions if the body so chooses.
Thank you.
I think that finally stuck right there.
President recognizes Councilor DeBona.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Mason, thank you for being up here tonight. I had hoped, I had wished that maybe you came up before all the folks spoke because they spoke about the numbers were just a little off, to be honest with you, now looking at this. So for future references, I think it'd be to the best benefit for the folks out there that we do the presentation back to back. The numbers were off tonight, and I'm just kind of looking at each other, looking at us. So let's just get back to some of the facts that were presented to us tonight. So the tax increase is at $320.40 average.
Medium, so 50%
Medium.
will be above it, 50% will be below it.
And the tax rate is the residential, if it goes, the split is $11.53. Is that correct?
Correct, Counselor.
Okay, and then the commercial is 23.01.
Yes.
For the commercial, okay. That's very important for the folks to understand, and transparency, we need to really, they were looking for this number. And these are other numbers that were coming up with other folks who were talking about. Just a little bit about, I know we haven't even got into our appropriations yet, but you have them in this package, which is really good so if I could, I mean, if it's in this package, I'd like to talk about it a little bit, is the free cash usage. It's our 2024-150. We're going to try to buy, is it $2 million that we're?
Correct, Counselor.
So we're going to take the $2 million from the general fund from free cash to reduce the tax rate.
Correct, Counselor.
If I could, through, Mr. President, if I could ask the auditor, what do we have available in that account?
Yes, Councilor. We were just certified for free cash at $3,430,272.
Okay, and with the 2 million decrease?
That will leave us with $1,000,004.
Okay. So I'm very happy that we're actually buying this down a little bit, I would say. So thank you for providing this for the residents of the city to do this and propose it. Thank you, Mr. Walker, and the mayor as well. I think that's very important in a particular year like this. I think when I was listening to a lot of the presentations tonight about, where we were in 2010 and where we are today, I mean, we were probably around 90,000 people in the city. We're at 101,643. I think we're closer to 106, maybe 110 in the city if we really get the numbers straight. Inflationary, I mean, we went through the COVID pandemic 2020. I mean, they were printing money like no tomorrow. I mean, the inflationary rate, we can talk to you, the economist, and talk about how much, the candy bar costs today than it was a couple,
Yeah, and the candy bar is smaller too.
So, I mean, we're talking about all these factors that have come at us on a global scale, on a world scale, and here we are today with a budget. We're talking about the budget into the tax rate today. All the budgetary items were already presented to us way back in June. And here we are with the tax rate classification. So I think we have stuff in front of us tonight. The pension contribution, it says here that it's reduced the tax bills by $97.71. It's close to $100.
Correct, Counselor.
Talk a little bit about what's the rate on that pension? What's the rate on that right now?
The pension bond?
Yes.
2.62%.
So, 2 point what?
2.62%.
I talked about this years ago, that if we didn't do it then, we would never be able to do it today. And I know other municipalities out there in the last year or two tried to do that pension bond, like they tried to bond it and they just can't do it because the rate is like, what, triple?
Yeah, it's getting close there. It's also has to be taxable. The bond has to be taxable, which dramatically increases it. You probably pay about 4.7% to 5.2%, so you're clean double it.
So we hit the sweet spot. I could call it, we can't get any better than that spot that we picked. And I know a lot of folks have refinanced their house maybe 2.5 to 3 years ago that we're getting under 3%.
I'm in that camp.
You know, raise your hand.
Yeah, right.
Part of that group. But I'll tell you, it's still at, what, 6.875 is right now, 30-year fixed, just on
Oh,
that.
yeah, no, it's still pronounced, and it's, one
I
of the
talk
other
about all this stuff tonight because this is the reality of the world we live in today. I mean, there are the gas prices are a little higher, everything. I mean, we just went through a situation where, and listen, you need to pay your workers. I mean, everybody's salaries have gone up. I mean, we're looking at reality of the world today that it's just, we're put in front of it, to be honest with you. And it's been difficult. It's difficult. In my neighborhood, which is a lot of the folks' neighborhood, it went up almost 100,000 in values. I mean, it's a big jump. Some sections of the city are going to be a little bit bigger than others.
Yeah.
So I just want to get clarification on some of these. The purchase order usage, are they reducing it by $39?
Yes.
So the total reduction in taxes is going to be $183.25.
Correct, Counselor.
Okay.
If the body adopts all the orders.
If we decide to do the.
Yes.
2015, I was on the school committee, and it snowed 111 inches in Quincy. And we had to pay for it 2016, 2017, 2018. It was like $13 million, I believe, and we had to split it up. And it was really tough. And then we got into the pandemic, and here we are today. But I'm just looking at, for clarification purposes, the bottom line, TBL, is $320.40. That's what really is going to be the medium average tax rate.
Absolutely.
Okay, I just wanted to get the clarification out there, because we were hearing a lot of different numbers and stuff. So if I could with John Ronan, I don't know if we can speak about some of the other stuff that he was talking about. Just a few more questions, then I'll be done, and other counselors can speak. John, thank you. I didn't know where we were going to have both of you together. New growth. I
Yes.
kind of wanted to talk about new growth. Somebody talked about it in the audience. 100 Whitwell Street, the 465 units. So that's the completed project. That's in the pipeline now.
Yes,
It's being taxed.
Yes.
What is the value on that? How
around
are they-
$220 million.
How much?
$220 million.
220 million. 189 Hancock Street. 255 units. Do you have an?
I don't have that number on me, no.
How about 1200 Hancock Street, 135?
I don't have that one either,
You
sorry.
have the big Whitwell one.
Oh, yes.
Now, that came online, is that 2023 we're talking about?
For this fiscal year, the fully completed value was this year.
This year?
Yeah, it was partially completed the year before.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Price
pick
for
it
the
up
year
during
before.
construction progress.
Do you
We pick-
anticipate that going up for another year?
It could go, if the market increases in terms of the apartments, yes, that could still go up. But in terms of the completed project, that is 100% complete.
I know the values have gone up over the years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at the average increase. I believe it's at $13,000 per house. Is that correct? The average? Is that right, Eric?
The median, yes, the median single-family home went up from $616,000 to $630,000.
Okay. Over the last few years, it's been a lot more than that. It's been like
Yes.
60,000 to 70,000, almost every single year.
Yes.
So this particular year is kind of plateauing off. Is that a best assessment to say?
Yeah, no, the sale prices have indicated that the single-family homes are now increasing at the same rate as they had previously.
The sales of the houses in Quincy,
Yes.
even with the low inventory, they're still increasing. Is that correct? Is that a good assessment to say?
Yes.
Why is that so?
Quincy's a desirable place to live.
Quincy's a desirable place to live. The inventory is still low, or is it right?
It's just that the sale, there's not many sales transactions occurring during the calendar year we've reviewed the sales, which is 2023. But we have been monitoring the 2024 sales, and those have been increasing.
I see. Just one of those quick points, because I'm looking at the real estate transactions almost every day, and I'm seeing them. They're still up there.
Yep.
They're still going for pretty good values. I know we're a desirable city. We're right next to the water, right next to Boston.
Yep.
But I just wanted to get the two of you, and I appreciate that. I want to let yield my time to the other counselors on here, but I just wanted to get clarification for self. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor DeMona. President recognizes Councilor Liang.
Thank you, Mr. President. Hi, Chairman Rowland. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. So I'm going to take a little bit of your time here to talk about exemption stuff. As you know, it's my favorite thing to talk to you about. I think we've been doing this now for 7 or 8 years. You've been educating me every single year on updates and where we are with the statute and et cetera, et cetera. But that's a lot of historic data that you and I have known about.
Yes.
And I think not the collective, and I could always use a refresher. So I'm just going to start with the residential exemption conversation, right? We sat down again many years ago. You showed me tons of spreadsheets, again, showed me the rules of how things are classified, how this process works, because process is important here, right?
Yes.
And so correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding of this is with the residential exemption right now, the state allows any municipality to take up to a certain percentage. Right now, I think it's capped at 35%.
Correct.
Off of the value of their home and then tax at that lower rate, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
The residential exemption creates a shift within the residential class and raises the residential tax rate.
That's what I wanted to get to next, right? Because it's not just saying, okay, well, Nina, you can reduce, your condo from 300,000 down 35%, now you're taxed on that lower percentage, right? Even if I'm taxed at a lower percentage, and I can't do the math off the top of my head, right? 200-something thousand, then the value of my condo would be. My rate is no longer $11 per $1,000. It's higher because we have to make up the difference
Yes.
in that gap, right? Is that correct? So
Correct,
even
yeah.
though the percentage is, like, the value is lower that I'm paying for, the rate becomes higher, and I end up essentially paying more depending on the value.
There's a
of my
breaking
home.
point in the formula where people who own and live in their property for many years with a residential exemption will pay more in tax.
Right. And so I think every year you and I sit down again, we talk about that. We try to figure out, is it still the same case this year? And it is, because the way that we are classified, it just makes the split this way, where like commercial's already taxed to the max. We can't tax them anymore under the state law of how we're doing this tax rate, right? And so again, it then increases the rate on the residential side. So I think we've also had conversations with, again, let's get creative, right? How can we change this? And again, it comes down to not the single family or even 2 or 3 family homes. It's like the huge apartment complexes that are businesses. Can we shift that over to commercial then to increase the commercial base and then reduce the residential base? And that's a state law.
Correct.
Am I correct here?
Yep.
So
All
it-
residential property used for residential dwellings is taxed at the residential rate.
Which you as an assessor are tied to. You are tied to how the state mandates that you classify all these properties. So I can say to you, which I have, I said, can't we then just make a law, an ordinance committee, and change how we're classifying those properties, which will then increase the commercial base and then decrease the residential base, even if by a few cents. It's a process, it's a step in the right direction, and your hands are tied based off of state law and state classifications, correct?
Absolutely, yes.
And so if we were to change the classification on how we would like to do things in the city based off of our base right now, we'd have to go to the state legislature to change that, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so just want to make sure that's still the case, right? That's something that obviously, is a bigger, I think, process than just for us to be able to vote on that. So just want to make sure, again, we're on the same page with that. The next thing is I wanted to talk about is just the process for then understanding what my taxes are going to be next year. Eric went up and I think he had a slide that showed like if your home is valued within this range, your rate will go up this amount, right? But if I weren't here tonight and I weren't watching this meeting, right, folks at home, how can they figure out, okay, it's coming to the end of the calendar year. I know that when I go and open my mortgage statement, right, my rates are going to go up next year. How does the average person at home who, again, is not here, what do they do to then start managing their budget for next year's increases?
So I believe, Chairman, that the assessments are already out.
Yes.
Yes. So you're talking.
The assessments have been posted online, so anybody can review their assessments online currently. And they can always call our office, and we're happy to talk with them on the process and give them options for any exemptions that they may qualify as well if their taxes are increasing too much and they are able to qualify for some of the state exemptions that we do have.
Okay, so I'm at home. I know my rate's going to go up next year. I'm budgeting for next calendar year. I want to know, okay, I know the rate is, hopefully we pass this where it's $11 and change, right? That's the new rate. I can sit here and say, but what's my assessed value? I can either go online through the city's website or just call your office and say, this is my address, what's the assessed value, and what's my rate going to be next year, right?
Absolutely, we'd be happy to
Okay.
do that.
That goes into my next question, which is the exemptions, right? Because then I think that's a natural next question for anybody to say, okay, I understand the amount now. What can I get for exemptions? How many exemptions do we currently offer residents in the city of Quincy?
20.
20 exemptions, okay. How do they go about accessing those exemptions, applying for them, et cetera, et cetera?
So we mail out the exemptions annually to anyone who's ever applied for them in the past. And so we also will have people call in our office, they'll pick up exemptions in our office, as well as we have our exemptions online. All the forms are online fillable forms. So there are many avenues for people to come and find out the exemptions that we do offer.
Okay, and my last question, which is always, I think, when it comes to information that's being provided to residents, is this information accessible in multiple languages?
Yes, it is, yes.
Okay, great. That's just what I wanted to know. Thank you again for clarifying. I never like to make assumptions, and so I just like to walk through it and make sure that we're still up to date with our current situation to then understand what our options are moving forward. So thank you both. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Liang. Anyone else? President recognizes Councilor Devine.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I wanted to try and clarify a few things. During the public meeting, I heard someone mention how many bronze statues do we need. Those aren't directly coming out of our residential taxes, are they? They're usually from grants and other types of money. So I just want to make sure people know that when you see a brass statue, it's really not going to change your residential tax. We're finding money differently. We have a grant writer and a management department that's doing phenomenal, and they're raising us millions and millions of dollars that other municipalities can't get. So we're working really hard, and somebody also mentioned that none of the councilors asked any questions when it was given. All of us work exceptionally hard. We walk into the offices and we might pass each other in the hallway, or we're sitting in one of the director's offices and the phone will ring and it'll be another counselor trying to learn what we need. We don't walk in here and have a piece of paper in front of us and we just start reading it. We do our homework, every single one of us. So I just wanted to make sure that we are working for everyone out there. I know some people don't think so, but we work very hard and we're regular people too. I just found out that I have 2 chimneys and I get taxed on both of them. I'll be taking one down because I don't use one. You know, I don't mean to make a joke about this, it's very serious. I'd also suggest that out there, if you have the accessibility to use the website, it's vast, but it's also user-friendly. And if you really use it, you can find out anything you really need to know. So I would highly suggest utilizing it, because a lot of these questions that I hear people asking, they're in there. Or call me if you're a Ward 4 constituent. Give me a call. You know, I'll walk you through it, and if I don't know, we'll figure it out. So thank you for everything you've done, and that's it.
Thank you, Councilor Devine. President recognizes Councilor Campbell.
Thank you guys so much for this presentation. Just a couple quick questions based off of, or to go off of what Councilor Liang had asked. The exemptions, there's 20 exemptions. Are they primarily through age?
We have a grouping of senior exemptions as well as veterans exemptions, exemptions for the blind as well, tax deferral options for seniors.
Okay, so, yeah, so I think knowing what's out there, I think for people, that's an important thing, so send them to the website as well. Is there a cap to it? Like, are you
Yeah,
qualify for every one of them?
Some of the senior exemptions do have caps on income and assets.
Okay, but I'm saying, so what you're eligible for, if you're eligible for it, then you're eligible for it, and you'll get it. So if there's no necessarily, if you check the box on each one, you'll receive each one.
Exactly.
Yeah, good, okay, all right, that's all I have, thank you.
And again, just so people are aware, in this book that I held up at the beginning, all the tax exemption programs are listed. It's the last few pages of Appendix H, tax exemption programs, so they're readily available. Do you, does anyone else? Okay. President recognizes Councilor Ash.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. President. Mr. Rowland, I think it'd be really helpful if we could flip to the third slide, the third to last slide, I'm sorry, in your presentation, which I believe is number 15.
that's not it.
Is there one of, great, thank you. So at some point, the number 1315 per $1,000 of assessed value was thrown out, and I think that I likely may have misheard that, but I think it's important for folks to see what our options are for tonight's vote and what we're actually voting on, the residential tax rate, the option for the residential tax rates. And if we are to vote on, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, if we are to vote on the option that is most beneficial to the homeowner, that would result in a property tax of $11.53 per $1,000 of assessed value.
Yes.
And the current property tax rate is $11.27 per $1,000 of assessed value.
Correct.
So if this body adopts the CIP Shift 1.75, which is the 88% residential factor, property taxes will go up 26 cents per $1,000 of assessed value.
Yes.
Thank you. And I believe we heard that average could be somewhere around $400 based on your home.
The median increase was $320.
$320, thank you. And then if we marry the two presentations with Mr. Mason's presentation, in which we have the council orders in front of us tonight, mainly the pension contribution, free cash usage, and purchase order usage, that will result in a separate tax reduction of $183.25. Is that
The $320 figure is pondering the council adopting those three orders.
Okay, thank you. Thank
All
you.
set, Counselor?
Yes, thank you.
President recognizes Counselor McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, thanks, John and Eric, for the presentation. The book, and I know we've all recently received it, has everything you need in there to look at all our different options and how the city operates. One thing, and I know, John, you and I sat this morning for an hour, and I think most residents lock in on, they see the 320, whatever that number is, that the median number, and they lock in on that. Then they get surprised when it does adjust. And I know that, I'm not going to mention the addresses, but we took a look around, especially in Ward 1, at different places. I looked at houses that had water views. I looked at houses that weren't on the water, that still had a water view. I looked at houses that were in the middle of House Neck, Germantown, Marymount, et cetera. And you can see the variety as we go along, and we can see that, it applies to a house that probably nobody would imagine that a house, at least if my father was alive, he wouldn't think that a house that was down the neck up on the hill would be 1.6 million. And all the homes up there now, there's a lot of homes that are down there now that are in that ballpark. I think one thing that folks have to realize when they look at this is that it is going to vary. That median number is an average number that you guys have worked at across the city to come up with that $300, $400. But it will be, there's folks that will get taxed a bigger amount because they do have that water view or that brand new house that's on the water or that brand new house, period. So, I want to make sure that's clear. And to Councilor Ash's point, he did hear 1315 during the public hearing. And one of the things that I know that the mayor and I know that we all look at and we talk to you guys about is that the lowest possible number we can get for residents, for Res A, for residential homeowners, and that 1153 is the lowest possible one.
Correct.
That we can get. And we try to balance it with the commercial. I know Mr. Rutherford was up here, and he digs into a lot of these meetings and digs into a lot of his facts in regards to commercial. But when you look at the landscape of Quincy, the resident is the person we're trying to protect with that $11.53 number per thousand. So I just want to thank. I know the work. And it gets a little complicated, and folks don't see everything immediately. Hopefully, they'll look at these presentations that'll be online. John, you said they're all online?
They're going to be online tomorrow morning, yes.
To look at, but that's the goal, is to make the lowest possible common sense approach for the residents of Quincy. So I want to thank you guys for all the hard work and giving me the time today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Unless anybody else has any. When you're done. I'll let you go. President recognizes Counselor DeBoer.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm looking over the book real quick, and I see all the stuff that we have in the city of Quincy, but you can't forget, and I know QATV does it with the state representatives, that there's also a Massachusetts senior circuit breaker tax credit. If you just Google it right now, Massachusetts senior circuit breaker tax credit, it will give you some qualifications, and it could be up to 2024, up to 2730, which is $2,730. There are some qualifications. You have to be over the age of 65, but it also is not only for homeowners, it's also for renters. So just for the public to understand that, for people that are on fixed incomes over the age of 65, there's another tool in the toolbox that you could use. And I think folks sometimes forget this one, and I don't know if they go on retro and back in time, but it's worth a shot to Google it. Massachusetts Senior Circuit Breaker Tax Credit. I know QATV does it with the state reps every year, and they're always trying to educate the folks in the city. So that's another avenue of some tax deferral and some tax credit. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor. Couple more things. So first, I would like to talk about stock. So in the city, we have single-family homes, 2 families, 3 families, multifamilies, all the way up to these large residential complexes. Do you have percentages on the varying stock that I just mentioned?
I do have the percentages. I don't have them with me today.
Okay. All right. That would be useful to try to understand. I mean, I think that I could probably guess that the majority of people in this room that are vocal about this tax classification own single-family homes, most likely aren't paying a mortgage. And do you have percentages on that, who are paying a mortgage and sort of loop their tax payments into that?
Yeah.
Sorry, that's a little more of a treasury question, Counselor. So yes, about 82% have mortgages that are escrowed, and currently a little less than $10 billion of the city's $24 billion is in single-family homes. So that's approximately 41.2%, somewhere in that range, are single-family residents, and of those, approximately 82% have their mortgages escrowed.
Okay, 82% mortgages?
Yes, Quincy, the last census, we had an 11%, basically what they call a tenancy rollover rate. So every year, 11% of people either move in and out of the city. But obviously, our population's growing, so more people are moving in, just 11%.
And I mean, even within those populations, or even the whole stock of the city, what's the owner occupancy percentage?
That is information we would have to review.
Yeah.
Based off of either mailing addresses, voter registration, and for their federal income tax returns where they file their taxes.
Got it. That's just better to understand, I think, as we get into the discussion about classification and looking at larger residential complexes as potentially commercial. Where do you actually draw the line? I mean, I think that most people want to be in residential real estate. A lot of people own multiple properties. So are we going to consider their second property a business? Because, I mean, essentially it is run as a business. And I know we started to have this discussion years ago, but that's the reason why we're in this place we are today, where there isn't availability of home ownership, because people want to be in the real estate game. And I have no problem with that. It's just that these are the factors that play that are extraneous to the circumstances today. So we've got a rise in home values because of existing stock, low inventory. Nobody's building single-family homes, which is the most desirable home property asset in Quincy and elsewhere around major metropolitan areas. High volume of sales, so people are transacting more and they're paying top dollar, well over the asking price, over the assessed values in a lot of cases.
Yes.
Inflation, that goes into it. I think a lot of people in this room probably are on fixed incomes, which were established at a certain point in time. Personally, I think some people have been given bad financial advice, and that's unfortunately not something that falls on us. There are, of course, the exemptions that we work towards to alleviate some of those burdens, but people's holdings of assets, as well as decisions that they made about finances long ago, unfortunately, is a tough circumstance to be in. But then you're both standing here, so I'm going to put you both on the spot because you are where the tax classification, the home assessment, and the values meets the city spending. And so can you just give me an idea, what does that line in between look like, right? Between the two of you. Because we're getting a sense, right? We've got all these numbers that have been thrown around, all these percentages that have been thrown around, and now we've got free cash, which is going from your side, which is going to alleviate the burden, right? And then you're the one that sets the tax rate.
So I will say, while John and I have very open communications, and I would, from a little personal side, our careers are tied. When John went down to the assessors, I actually took John's role over in municipal finance. So there's few assessors in the state that understand municipal finance better than John. I'll just be honest with you, that's why I enjoy working with them. But really what it comes down is independency. John sets his assessments by the state regulations and the state guidelines. We don't have any sway on that. How the tax rate is calculated is an itemization of every financial decision the city makes within a year. Every vote has to be recorded through its appropriation. I know Nicole's department is always very helpful in providing those documentation. Then how much the state contributes, and then what are the real expressions of revenue we have from local receipts. All those are put together individually within the tax rate, and that creates the levy. And then John's assessments are used to define how we divide that pie out across the residential class, across the CIP class, and then even in those subclassifications from single family all the way down to multis.
Okay. If you happen to do some extra homework, I'd love to have some of those percentages to share with people, because just to give people an idea that it's not people just living in homes and not able to afford their taxes. There are all these extraneous factors that fit into this that are mostly out of our control, because people are also using real estate as a primary or supplementary income stream. So, and I think that's a very important thing to point out.
I'll be happy to review that information and provide that to you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, now I think we will continue on into the agenda. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Number 1, 2024-148, an appropriation for $3,476,619.61 to community preservation accounts.
President recognizes Councilor McCarthy.
I'm going to make a motion to approve. I know that we have a breakdown in our package. Community Preservation Administrative Account, $75,000. The Affordable Housing Reserve, $341,706.70. The Historic Preservation Reserve, $341,706.70. Preservation Open Space Reserve, $341,706. And a Community Preservation Budgetary Reserve Account of $2.3 million, $76,499.51. I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve made by Councilor McCarthy.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor DeBona. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Ash. Yes. Counselor Campbell. Yes. Counselor Devine. Yes. Counselor DeBona.
Yes.
Counselor Harris. Yes. Counselor Liang. Yes. Counselor McCarthy. Yes. Counselor Minton. Yes. President Kane.
Yes.
9 members.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, next item on the agenda.
Number 2, 2024-149, an appropriation for $4,200,000 for retirement and pensions.
President recognizes Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, I'd like to make a motion also to approve. The sum of $4.2 million is hereby reduced from the following lines: retirements, pension, $4.2 million. I'd like to make that in form of a motion.
Motion to approve made by Councilor McCarthy, seconded by Councilor DeBona. On the motion, President recognizes Councilor Liang.
Yes, thank you. I just want to again clarify so I don't make an assumption. This is to reduce this by $4.2 million, correct?
That's correct.
Great, thank you.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Ash.
Yes.
Counselor Campbell.
Yes.
Counselor Devine.
Yes.
Counselor DeBona.
Yes.
Counselor Harris. Counselor Liang. Counselor McCarthy.
Yes.
Counselor Minton. President Kane.
Yes.
9 members.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, next.
Number
item,
3,
please.
2024-150, an appropriation for $2 million to general fund for free cash to reduce the tax rate.
President recognizes, motion to approve made by Counsel McCarthy, seconded by Counsel DeBona. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Ash. Counselor Campbell. Counselor Devine. Counselor DeBona. Counselor Harris. Counselor Liang. Counselor McCarthy. Counselor Minton. President Kane.
Yes.
9 members.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Number 4, 2024-151, an appropriation for $1,677,016.73 for various FYI accounts from prior year encumbrances and various accounts.
Motion approved made by Counsel McCarthy, seconded by Counsel DeBona. Not seeing anything on the motion. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Ash. Counselor Campbell. Counselor Devine. Counselor DeBona.
Yes.
Counselor Harris. Counselor Liang. Counselor McCarthy. Counselor Minton. President Kane.
Yes.
9 members.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item, please.
Number 5, 2024-152, adopting residential factor of 87.6863 for fiscal year '25.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved made by Counsel McCarthy, seconded by Counsel DeBona. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Ash. Counselor Campbell. Counselor Devine. Counselor DeBona. Counselor Harris. Counselor Liang. Counselor McCarthy. Counselor Minton. President Kane.
Yes.
9 members.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Number 6,
Next item, please.
2024-153, adopting percentages of local tax for each class of real estate property, personal property for fiscal year 2025. Can I start that
Thank you,
again?
Madam Clerk. Motion approved made by Counsel McCarthy, seconded by Counsel DeBona. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Ash. Counselor Campbell. Counselor Devine. Counselor DeBona. Counselor Harris. Counselor Liang. Counselor McCarthy. Counselor Minton. President Kane.
Yes.
9 members.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item, please.
Number 7, 2024-154, adoption of land, $245,297.36, acquisition of 1072 C Street.
President recognizes Counsel McCarthy.
Yes, 1072 C Street. For those who aren't familiar where it is, it's right next to the fire station in Howes Neck. It's a residence that caught fire a number of years ago, was cleared out, and conversations with the administration back and forth, it seemed like a good spot for fire station expansion down there in Howes Neck. I know they're going to be doing a lot of work down the neck on the station. They're going to have to probably bring in some modular trailers to live in for a while when they do some extensive work inside. So I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Motion approved made by Counsel McCarthy, seconded by Counsel Devine. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Ash. Counselor Campbell. Counselor Devine. Counselor DeBona. Counselor Harris. Counselor Liang. Counselor McCarthy.
Yes.
Counselor Minton. President Kane.
Yes.
8 members.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item, please.
Number 8, 2024-155, appropriation land, $1,100,000, acquisition of 4757 Lincoln Ave, 48 Winthrop Ave.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. For my colleagues, this started as a conversation with Deborah Barrett, who's sitting out in the audience today, who's a member of the Wollaston Congregational Church. This was in 2023, sometime, I think mid to late 2023. And Wollaston Congregational Church, which is celebrating its 150th anniversary in 2025, has been a fixture in Wollaston Hill for some time. That has recently, through years of strong community use, we have members of the Wollaston Garden Club here tonight, including school committee member Emily Lebo. We've got more Garden Club members in the back. I did scouts there when I was younger. I know that there are performances that take place. It's used for Alcoholics Anonymous, et cetera. We are seeking to acquire this property so that it can continue to be used for community purpose, including most of those uses that we just described. Councilor Harris.
Thank you. I also have received, and I have family that's, and I've been at that, at the church, and I think this is a great thing, a good thing for your ward and the folks there, and you need a motion to approve, and I'd like to make the motion to approve.
Great, thank you, Councilor Harris. Motion to approve made by Councilor, seconded by Councilor McCarthy. On the motion, the President recognizes Mr. Walker.
Through you, Mr. President, just very briefly, thank you for your advocacy on this issue together with the mayor, putting this together. I just want to be clear on the funding source for both of this item and the item before. It's coming from an account that is specifically set aside for the purchase of property. It has to be used for the purchase of property because it was originated from the sale of property. So we were under strict guidelines on how these accounts can be spent, and these two acquisitions are coming from that account, so it has no impact on the tax rate or the general fund. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. And I do want to recognize that there were two letters sent from the Congregational Church as well as from the Garden Club, if my colleagues will indulge me, to the Quincy City Council. The Wollaston Congregational Church, after over 100 years of worship, is dissolving our church family. We'd feel we are continuing our legacy to the community by having the city purchase the church building for community space. Despite a very small Sunday worship, hundreds of people use our church building every week. 4 recovery groups, Boy Scout Troop 42, the Wollaston Garden Club, Melodrama Youth Drama Performing Arts Group, and Breda's Women's Irish Step Class, all meeting weekly. There's a large 3-classroom preschool space that is currently not being used that could fulfill city needs. We've hosted many music and concert recitals in our sanctuary space, and it is reported to be one of the best acoustic venues in the city. We hope with the city purchase of the church building, the Wollaston Community Center can continue to serve the city. Thank you, Wollaston Congregational Church. And to the Quincy City Council, the Wollaston Garden Club is almost 100 years old and has been meeting at the Wollaston Congregational Church for decades. Part of the mission of the Garden Club is to give back to the community, and we do this through civic beautification, tending to Safford Park, the corner of Beale and Newport Avenue, the Wollaston and Thomas Crane libraries, and participating annually in Cleaner Greener Quincy. We also conduct garden therapy, creative craft, and gardening activities at Atria, Atrium, and Fenno House nursing homes. The Garden Club has 2 major community events at the church, the plant sale in the spring and the green sale in December. We also give financial gifts to local Quincy nonprofits like Interfaith Social Services and QCAN, as well as annual scholarships to Quincy and North Quincy high schools. Having the space to meet at the Wollaston Church has enabled our club to thrive to our existing membership of 122. We hope the city purchases the church building. The Wollaston Garden Club will still have a home and will be able to continue to hold meetings, community events, and give back to the city of Quincy. Thank you, the Wollaston Garden Club Board. Thank you very much for those communications. We have a motion to approve from Councilor Harris, seconded by Councilor McCarthy. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Ash.
Sorry, on the motion. President recognizes Councilor Devine.
I wanted to thank Mr. Walker for explaining that. I did have a constituent that called with concerns about their residential tax going up by purchasing these properties, so it's good to know that that's not happening. And to the Wollaston Garden Club, I was putting up flags last spring, and you had a beautiful garden around one of the Veterans Memorial brass placards, and I very gingerly put my stepladder up because you had a beautiful garden there, and I understand how hard it is. I love landscaping and taking care of gardens too, so I appreciate everything you've done. So keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Devine. Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Ash. Councilor Campbell. Councilor Devine. Councilor DeBona.
Yes.
Councilor Harris. Councilor Liang. Councilor McCarthy. Councilor Minton. President King.
Yes.
9 members.
Motion passes. Okay, that concludes our regularly scheduled program for the evening. Approval of previous meeting minutes, both for November 12th and November 18th. Motion approved, made by Counselor Liang, seconded by Counselor McCarthy. Motion approved. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it. Communications and reports from the mayor and other city officers and city boards. Madam Clerk.
I do have one traffic request to refer to Ordinance Committee for Advertising, Ward 1, Councilor McCarthy, add handicap parking at 3 Grace Road.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Unfinished business and preceding meeting, seeing none. Reports of committees, Public Works. President recognizes Chair Harris.
Thank you. This evening, 2024-136, utility grant of location, National Grid Verizon, 47 Newbury Ave. Positive recommendation from the Public Works Committee. Motion for approval.
Positive recommendation, motion approved, made by Councilor Harris, seconded by Councilor McCarthy. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Ash. Yes. Counselor Campbell. Counselor Devine. Yes. Counselor DeBona.
Yes.
Counselor Harris.
Yes.
Counselor Liang. Yes. Counselor McCarthy. Yes. Counselor Minton.
Yes.
President Kane.
Yes.
9 members.
Thank you.
2024-137, utility grant of location, National Grid Verizon, Franklin Street at Pence Hill Road. Positive recommendation from the Public Works Committee. Motion to approve.
Motion approved, made by Councilor Harris, seconded by Councilor McCarthy. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Ash. Yes. Counselor Campbell. Yes. Counselor Devine. Yes. Counselor DeBona. Yes. Counselor Harris.
Yes.
Counselor Liang. Yes. Counselor McCarthy. Yes. Counselor Minton. Yes. President Kane.
Yes.
9 members.
2024-138, utility grant of location, National Grid Verizon, Independence Ave at Oak Grove Terrace. Positive recommendation from the Public Works Committee. Motion to approve.
Motion approved, made by Chair Harris, seconded by Councilor McCarthy. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Ash.
Yes.
Counselor Campbell. Yes. Counselor Devine. Counselor DeBona. Yes. Counselor Harris.
Yes.
Counselor Liang. Counselor McCarthy.
Yes.
Counselor Minton. President Kane.
Yes.
9 members.
Is that all, Chair? You good?
That's it.
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks so much.
President recognizes Chair Liang.
Thank you, Mr. President. We've got 6 traffics tonight out of Ward 4 and Ward 5. So we'll start with Ward 4, 2024-130, at handicap parking at 35 Brooks Ave. Positive recommendation out of committee.
Positive recommendation, motion approved, made by Councilor Liang, seconded by Councilor Campbell. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Ash. Counselor Campbell. Yes. Counselor Devine. Yes. Counselor DeBona.
Yes.
Counselor Harris. Yes. Counselor Liang.
Yes.
Counselor McCarthy. Counselor Minton.
Yes.
President Kane.
Yes.
8 members.
Second one out of Ward 4, 2024-131, add no parking on both sides of Filbert Street from 46 Filbert to Dead End. Positive recommendation out of committee.
Motion approved, made by Councilor Liang, seconded by Councilor Campbell. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Ash. Yes. Counselor Campbell. Counselor Devine.
Yes.
Counselor DeBona.
Yes.
Counselor Harris.
Yes.
Counselor Liang.
Yes.
Counselor McCarthy.
Yes.
Counselor Minton.
Yes.
President Kane.
Yes.
9 members.
All right, the rest are out of Ward 5, 2024-132, add handicap parking at 4 Euclid Ave. Positive recommendation out of committee.
Positive recommendation, motion approved, made by Councilor Liang, seconded by Councilor Campbell. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Ash. Yes. Counselor Campbell.
Yes.
Counselor Devine.
Yes.
Counselor DeBona.
Yes.
Counselor Harris. Yes. Counselor Liang.
Yes.
Counselor McCarthy.
Yes.
Counselor Minton.
Yes.
President Kane.
Yes.
9 members.
2024-133, add 2-hour parking on the even side of Euclid Ave from Roslyn Ave to the Dead End. Positive recommendation out of committee.
Positive recommendation, motion approved, made by Councilor Liang, seconded by Councilor Campbell. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Ash. Yes. Counselor Campbell.
Yes.
Counselor Devine.
Yes.
Counselor DeBona.
Yes.
Counselor Harris. Yes. Counselor Liang.
Yes.
Counselor McCarthy.
Yes.
Counselor Minton.
Yes.
President Kane.
Yes.
9 members.
2024-134, add 2-hour parking on the odd side of Euclid Ave from Roslyn Ave to 137 feet north of Roslyn Ave. Positive recommendation out of committee.
Positive recommendation, motion to approve, made by Councilor Liang, seconded by Councilor Campbell. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Ash. Yes. Counselor Campbell.
Yes.
Counselor Devine.
Yes.
Counselor DeBona.
Yes.
Counselor Harris.
Yes.
Counselor Liang.
Yes.
Counselor McCarthy.
Yes.
Counselor Minton.
Yes.
President Kane.
Yes.
9 members.
All right, last one, 2024-135, add no parking on the outside of Euclid Ave from 137 feet north of Roslyn Ave to the dead end. Positive recommendation out of committee.
Positive recommendation, a motion approved made by Counselor Knight, seconded by Counselor Campbell. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Ash. Counselor Campbell.
Yes.
Counselor Devine. Counselor DeBona.
Yes.
Counselor Harris. Counselor Liang.
Yes.
Counselor McCarthy. Counselor Minton. President Kane.
Yes.
8 members.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Of course.
Presentation of petitions, memorials, and remonstrance. Madam Counselor Liang.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I could, just for a moment with my colleagues. So 2 years ago, basically tomorrow, there were 2 residents of Quincy, a brother and a sister, and 2 children who went to the post office right down the street here and proceeded to be yelled at to go back to their country, to go back to China, that if they were still present outside the post office, that this gentleman was going to kill them. There were children involved who were also being yelled at to leave or else be killed. And, this resident ended up being chased down and hit by a car twice and, has made it, luckily, right, and has recovered. But, definitely the trauma that this family and the kids are going through is still very much there. I know even for myself, it didn't happen to me, but I avoided that post office for months after that. And that's a post office I frequent now, and I still look over my shoulder every day thinking, if I was here with my cousin Jimmy at that time and we had 2 kids with us, would that have been us? Would he have been the one hit by the car? Would I be the one having to talk to my kids and explain to them why people are yelling at them to leave the city that they call home? And just a few months ago, the ruling came down that this was a formal hate crime. And so this evening, I don't know if folks heard some of the drumming outside, but just a ton of residents and members of the Asian American community came out to really just reclaim this space, right, and reclaim the post office. And for me, it became this moment of just remembering that this community does not tolerate hate. And so I want to just take this moment to say thank you to all of those members who came out to pay respects to this family and to wish them, and the children came as well, and we want to make sure that they have the best of recovery from this and understand that this community loves and supports them. And really just want to, again, take this opportunity to really publicly and verbally extend immense gratitude to this body for always being so supportive of the Asian American community. We're, close to 40% of the population here, over the majority and even some of the schools here. We're really intimately, right, part of the fabric of this community. And that one incident is not reflective of this city. And that's what this group gathered tonight was reemphasizing, right, that we aren't this kind of city. And let's make sure to let people know that that's never going to be tolerated here. And again, I know that among my colleagues here, that's never been a question. The residents that met up tonight didn't say, let's go stand in front of City Hall so the City Council knows it. They just wanted to gather in a common space, right? And they knew that they had the support of this body, the support of the mayor's office, always of the community. And I see still a couple of members of the police department, 2 of many who were out tonight in the freezing cold for hours, making sure that the community was safe, walking from the post office, reclaiming that space to the front of City Hall. So just really want to give another heartfelt thank you to really everyone in Quincy who, doesn't welcome us here, but knows that we're a part of the community here. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Liang, and I appreciate your commentary, and that, no, that's not our city. This past weekend was such a wonderful, wonderful weekend of what you saw is our city. And that's bringing people together through holidays and music and spirit and joy. There were thousands of people outside of this common for days between the Christmas tree lighting, the parade, the Santa arrival up at Pageant Field, the market over at Kilroy Square. To be honest, I was blown away by the whole thing. That's our city. And you see people from all walks. And you walk around now, Quincy's not what it used to be. You walk around and say, I don't know what these people, I don't know where they're coming from, but that's great because we're attracting people here for the right reasons. And I think people are really seeing that. So it's unfortunate that events like that take place and sometimes outshine the goodness that all of us try to bring, I know, on a regular basis. But thank you again for your work and your advocacy. President recognizes Councilor Devine.
I just want to, I can mention the tree lighting in this, right? Saturday, we're going to be having a tree lighting at Shea Park. The Stonecutters Memorial for Ward 4 between 4 and 6. Just want to let people know. We'll be having pizza, hot cocoa. I know it won't be quite the beautiful tree lighting that we had here the other day, but we're going to give it our best, and we had a lot of great people there last year. So anybody that wants to come, please show up, Thank you.
Thank you. President recognizes Councilor Minton.
Just a quick note, tomorrow night at Beechwood Knoll School, we're going to have the Parks Department and other associates down there to talk about the refurb of Sailor's Home Pond. It's been a long time coming. The councilors before me pushed for it, and it finally arrived. So that'll be 6:30 at Beechwood Knoll School.
6:30 Beechwood Knoll to discuss Sailor's Home Pond improvements.
That's it.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Minton. Councilor Campbell?
And along the same lines, tomorrow night, 5:30 PM at Granite Links, we'll have a discussion on the 50-year lease and other items that are relevant, so.
Thank you, Councilor Campbell. Councilor Ash?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. President, while we're, mentioning, since Councilor Devine gave the Ward 4 Christmas tree lighting a plug, I'll do the same. Sunday night, 4:45 to about 6:30 at the Fall River Rotary is the 7th annual Quincy Point Christmas tree lighting. It grows a little bit each year. It'll be great this year. Some live music, refreshments, and some of your favorite neighbors. So please, everyone, join us if you're able. But on a more poignant, solemn note, I did want to extend condolences to the Solander family on the passing of Mark Alfred Martin Solander. Mark Solander was only 29 and passed away recently on November 9th after a battle with pancreatic cancer. He's from a well-known, great Quincy Point family. He was born February 16th, 1995, and was a graduate of the Quincy High School class of 2013. He played on the lacrosse and football teams, as well as participated in the junior ROTC and Skills USA programs. He was inducted into the National Honor Society in 2012, went on to Wentworth Institute of Technology, receiving his Bachelor's of Science in Computer Networking, and won several awards at the school's radio station. Mark spent 6 years working at Akamai Technologies as a platform operations manager and handled alert monitoring in both internal and external network connectivity issues. The words outside of his professional resume that are heard frequently when describing Mark, which I know to be true, are kind and caring. Mark made it a point to consider others first and shared his love through his generosity and willingness to lend a hand. He was fortunate enough to marry the love of his life, Nia, in 2022, and they thankfully enjoyed 2 years together alongside their cat, Luna. Mark is also survived by his parents, Dale and Dorothy, brothers Matthew and Nicholas, grandparents Edna and Donald, maternal grandparents Geraldine Crombie and Robert Sanborn, aunts Karen Crombie, Susan Sanborn, Diana Sanborn, Diane Thomas, Sarah Crombie, and Colleen Ouellette, uncles Robert Sanborn, Michael Crombie, Paul Thomas, and Frank Ouellette, as well as a number of in-laws and cousins. So my condolences on behalf of the council to the Solander family of Mark, who passed away at just 29 after a very courageous battle with pancreatic cancer.
Thank you, Councilor Ash. President recognizes Councilor Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had a very enjoyable week starting off on Tuesday with the alumni and Hall of Fame for North Quincy and Quincy High School. The mayor was tremendous in helping out and doing all the amazing things for the city and for the schools, and I just wanted to take a moment and just congratulate the 3 recipients, or I'm sorry, 3 from each school. Special commendation for very special Tracy Pierce-Dooley. She was the representative for North Quincy. She does the boosters for them, and she did an amazing job, has throughout all her time there. Also, we had Kyle McKay, graduated in 2011, joined the North Quincy Hall of Fame. John Ryan, 1977, Hall of Fame. Paul Coletta, my favorite recipient, he was from the class of 1955. 88 years old, and I swear he could probably still make a few tackles. Probably could use him yesterday at the Patriots game. He was exceptional and really lived a great life. But he was one of the recipients. Class 2003, Kevin O'Connell from Quincy High School. Class of 1998 was Steve Mace from Quincy High School. And from the class of 1984, Chris Shaughnessy becoming what I believe to be the only family with 3 recipients for the Hall of Fame, him and his 2 brothers. I believe that they are the only 3 brothers to be in the Hall of Fame. Quincy High School, long overdue for all of them, and very, very much deserved. So I wanted to just make sure that was noted on the record.
Thank you, Councilor Campbell. President recognizes Councilor DeBona.
Thank you, Mr. President. On that note, I just want to talk a little bit about Thursday, which was the rain game, Quincy versus North Quincy in football, and it was probably the best Thanksgiving Day rivalry high school football game in the history of Quincy, North Quincy. Scott was just talking about the alumni, and Quincy was down 14-0, and then Quincy was down 21-7. They battled back, and it came down to 4 seconds left in the game, and North Quincy's Mikey Galligan threw a Hail Mary up in the end zone, and he caught it. He had to make the 2-point conversion, and they went into overtime. Quincy scored right away. Didn't make the 2-point conversion. North Quincy got the touchdown, and then the 2-point conversion to win the game in overtime. In the rain, I know QATV does the live stream now, so a lot of folks that didn't want to go to that rain-infested game, they could watch it live on TV. So, I mean, it started off the festivities of Tuesday and then Thursday, and then right into the tree lighting and the Christmas parade. On the note of the Christmas parade, even though it was cold out, I tell you, it was a lot of folks that were watching that parade. The community came out, and it was really nice to see everyone. So QATV, they do this tonight with us but they do a lot of live streaming, and they replay this stuff. You can go look up on YouTube now. So it's been a great addition. QATV is definitely up their technology, and it's really nice to have. So just want to say it's been a great week in general, and we hope to continue it going into December, into the holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor DeBona. Ward 3 has a Christmas tree lighting, so next Friday, December 6th at 6 p.m., please join us at Safford Park. This is done, I think this is our 21st or 22nd year in collaboration with the Wollaston Hill Neighborhood Association, and this year the Bernazani PTO will join us for hot cocoa and cookies. So please bring your families and your neighbors and loved ones who you want to see. Oh, and the QNQ choir will be singing. I don't have to embarrass myself this year. So, all right, moving on. Motions, orders, and resolutions. Scheduling of committee meetings and public hearings. We have our next scheduled meeting on Monday, December 9th. We have 2 public hearings. There's an ordinance public hearing at 6:30 regarding sex offenders. There's a public hearing at 6:35 for ordinance regarding the Quarries Hills lease. And then we have a 7 p.m. ordinance committee meeting. Our next regularly scheduled council meeting is Monday, December 16th at 6:30 p.m. We look forward to seeing you then. On that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn made by Councilor Young, seconded by Councilor Minton. All those in favor? Have a good evening, everyone.